Hello, everybody. I'm Richard Leek. We're in St. Paul, Minnesota, and it is cold. We've got near-like blizzard conditions, snow falling all day, a wind chill index of almost 30 below zero. Needless to say, it would be a perfect night to stay indoors by a fireplace. But instead, thousands of people are coming to the St. Paul Civic Center to watch the most powerful sport on Earth. As coming up next is Power Tracks and the Renegade's TNT Monster Truck Challenge.
Power Tracks presents the most powerful sport on Earth, the Renegade's TNT Monster Truck Challenge. Power Tracks is brought to you by the heartbeat of America, today's Chevy truck.
Welcome to Power Tracks, where we're back in St. Paul, Minnesota. The first time we were here to kick off the 1989 season, it was a debut of the new Bigfoot driver, Andy Brass. And Armstrong, his debut was a successful one. He not only knocked off the hottest driver from the end of the '88 year, Steve Dane and Awesome Kong, but he also beat the current national champion, Rod Litzow, in USA 1.
Well, he bumped off Awesome Kong, Richard, but it was that close, as you know. Keep an eye on Kong, but also let's keep an eye on this kid out of Virginia. The new Gravedigger's out. Anderson's trying to find the right combination. This might be the day he does it.
And we cannot forget the defending national champion, Rod Litzow, in USA 1. They are from right here in St. Paul, Minnesota. First round action coming up next on Power Tracks and ESPN. And welcome back to Power Tracks, St. Paul, Minnesota, where Army, already this evening we have got some major stories breaking. We'll get to those in just a moment. First of all, let's run down the pairings as we've got them in the Civic Center. Bigfoot, your top qualifier, will get a bye run tonight to Andy Brass, trying to make it 2 wins in a row. Then Madman takes on Gentle Ben. Following that competition, Dave Wysurek and Nightlife against the Terraduster. Then we're going to see Awesome Kong and Steve Dane out of Killeen, Texas against Rebels Revenge. Master of Disaster, Doug Spanier aboard, takes on Night Stalker, and that is our first round of competition. But now let's go to the major stories, and it is the word all drivers hate to hear, breakdown.
You know, qualifying this afternoon was so tough. As we look at the replay from earlier day's activity, the Gravedigger, Dennis Anderson, could not get it to go in gear. They stayed up all night long trying to get the transmission ironed out on the brand new setup. It just wasn't to be. The Renegade official was right there, giving him all the time he could take, but Anderson indicates he's not going to make it, gives him the shutoff signal, Richard.
And you know, already this year, this is our second contest of the year on the Renegade circuit, and Dennis Anderson of that new Gravedigger has yet to make it to a show.
Yeah, but believe me, all these guys are watching. They know when he gets it dialed in, he's going to be there. Then Barely Tame came out. Keep an eye on the right front wheel. Again, this footage coming from earlier qualifying. The right front spindle breaks right there on impact. That eliminated him from the competition.
Of course, Barely Tame, driven by Mike Brash out of Albany, Minnesota, one of the hometown guys with problems. A 79 Ford he brought on the circuit this year with him, powered by a Chevrolet 427 big block engine, but also now Barely Tame out of the competition. He joins Gravedigger, not performing tonight. And then, I guess, the biggest story tonight concerns our defending national champion.
Defending national champion and hometown boy, in this case, a tough break. The USA 1 Chevrolet, carrying a red, white, and blue, made a real good qualifying shot in the first half. But I want you to notice the left front wheel. You notice it turns sideways. A tough break, what they call the steering knuckle, broke on the left front. He will not be in competition this evening, Richard. Still looking for that invasive first win in '89.
And you know, we've already had one show of 1989. It was in St. Paul. USA 1 went up against the new driver of Bigfoot, Andy Brass, and got beat. I know Rod Litzow wanted to come back in this show and bring out a win for his hometown folks.
Well, the people are really getting behind him. You don't know. It's a tough break. Like I said, I actually believe Litzow's under too much pressure, Richard. As Andy Brass gets his bye run for quick qualifying time with the awesome Bigfoot. We told you the story. Bob Chandler brought this young man back from California to drive this truck. Since Rich Hoosier is retired, he's run one time, he's won one time.
Well, he makes his bye run in fine fashion, does not break down. He'll move on into the competition. And we are ready now to go door-to-door, side-by-side racing Jeff Zimmerman and the Madman. It's a 1979 Dodge. Will take on Al Spencer and Gentle Ben out of Indianapolis. Gentle Ben is a 77 Chevrolet.
Chevrolet will be working the left lane. Dodge will be coming out of the right lane. Now, this Dodge truck runs a small engine, 440 cubic inch wedge engine. Meanwhile, the Chevrolet runs a big block engine, sitting in that left lane. Starting line's going to be so crucial as the Dodge gets a jump, Richard. The Chevrolet having all kind of problems. Dodge looks like he'll take a win.
An easy win for Jeff Zimmerman, the Madman, the Dodge. And an interesting thing, Army, this is only Jeff's second race in his entire career.
Tell you what, the young man may have a future here. We're going to have a replay of that run to give you some idea of some of the problems they've been having. We're trying to figure out what's causing these vehicles to break. Notice the cars they're going over. There's a lot of sponge in them, a lot of bounce, and that is what's throwing these vehicles off. The Madman himself crossed the finish line and immediately hooked real hard to the left.
So that is going to be the story we're going to have to keep our eye on. And it seems like they're having the most difficulty, Army, approaching the second set of junk cars as Mark Wheeler out of Aurora, Nebraska, the driver of the Terraduster. It's a 79 Plymouth. You don't see a lot of those on the Monster Circuit. He'll be taking on a dandy and Dave Wysorick, a Nightlife. Dave, of course, out of Grand Island, Nebraska. He drives an 87 Chevrolet.
Wysorick making a name for himself in this sport. He's a young up-and-comer. Keep an eye on him. He'll be working the right lane in a Plymouth truck. Works the left lane. Chevrolet out like a shot. Wysorick will have no problems. He's going to advance. Richard, we said it earlier this year, keep an eye on the Nightlife. He is a comer in the sport.
Dave Wysorick wins it. I was talking to him earlier today, Army. I said, what's the biggest event of your life, the biggest show you ever did? He said, well, my biggest accomplishment, last year I beat Bigfoot 3 straight times, and he'd love to beat him again tonight if he gets a chance as we get ready for the guy we have now nicknamed the Flying Texan. Steve Dane, Awesome Kong, the hottest driver at the end of 1988. And he is going to be facing one of the new guys on the circuit. It's Bill Jones, Rebel's Revenge. It's an 86 Chevrolet out of Grand Rapids, Michigan.
You know, the Chevrolet people kind of get behind this truck, and I tell you why. It is not powered by Chevrolet. It's powered by a Chrysler engine. You notice Al Goss, our flagman, Richard, coming over what we call the kill boxes. Remember, each of these vehicles, when they run, as a matter of fact, he's handing Dane his right now, have an electronic kill box. It's operated for safety on the end of the track. Should something go wrong, immediately they hit a button and shut these vehicles off. Back to you from some more action, Richard.
All right, so we're ready to go. This is round one, side-by-side racing. Look for Steve Dane to sky high. He normally does right about now.
Texas Air Force lands in St. Paul, Minnesota. Look at all the air he gets, Richard.
Another landing with another win for Steve Dane and Awesome Kong as he moves on into the competition. But once again, even Steve Dane, Army, having trouble keeping control of this vehicle.
You know, the way that he gets over his problems is he doesn't really worry about driving over the crushed vehicles. He flies over them, literally. That way he doesn't have to worry about it.
That's one way to solve a problem, isn't it? Well, Bill Jones, Rebel's Revenge, a nice show, but not enough to come back. We'll be back with more first-round competition on Power Tracks in just a moment. And Power Tracks continues from St. Paul, Minnesota. This is round one competition. And coming out next to face each other, one of the most beautiful vehicles I think you'll ever see on the entire circuit. We'll give you a close-up here soon of the side of this truck. But it's Doug Spanier, the master of disaster out of Albany, Minnesota. That's an 89 Chevrolet, and he's going to be taking on Night Stalker. Steve Combs out of Wisconsin, a 79 Ford. So here we go, Army, our first Ford against Chevy matchup.
Well, the Ford's going to have his hands full as a Chevrolet. Doug Spanier definitely believes he has the truck to beat this evening. He believes this truck is just as good as USA 1 Bigfoot and Awesome Kong. He is going to show right now what this truck can do. And as you said a moment ago, looking at these trucks, some of the graphic artwork on these trucks, beautiful. Chevrolet on the left lane, Ford in the right lane. Let's see what's going to happen. Spanier says he can run with the best of them. He's got to prove it right now, Richard.
Pretty even at the start, but coming off now. Boy, it stays tight. I cannot tell the winner's Doug Spanier. Doug Spanier and the Chevrolet nips him at the line. Steve Combs and Night Stalker with a good run. Don't be surprised to see him come back as a fast loser, but your winner in this matchup, the Chevrolet of Doug Spanier and Master of Disaster.
Richard, real quick, the track crew, in the case of an event like that, there is a camera at the finish line. The track crew goes back and replays it. Now, to my eye, I couldn't tell who won, but they have a replay, and they stutter step the frame to actually tell who takes the win. A photo finish, if you will.
Well, it was Spanier Master Disaster, but I told you, Steve Combs ran a good time. Good enough to come back as the second fastest loser, but look who he's facing. It is Bigfoot and Andy Brass.
Well, some days are diamonds and some days are stones. Steve comes out, lines up against Master Disaster. He has to run the right lane. He goes right back in the right lane, but look who's sitting on the left. Bigfoot. Andy Brass advances once again in Bob Chandler's truck.
Well, I'll tell you something, Army. Andy Brass, since joining the Bigfoot operation on this Renegade circuit, he has been rocking and rolling with a win after a win. He's shooting for another one tonight. I know he's got to be happy right now.
Andy, the track looks awfully tough out there this afternoon.
Yes, it is. It's the cars are getting pretty well beat down now, and it's getting a little rough.
What lane are you going to stay in?
I'm gonna probably stay in the one I've been running in. I feel a little safer there.
You had quick qualifying time of the afternoon. Does that mean you'll have lane choice all afternoon long?
Yeah, I will. I'll have, like I say, I'll have lane choice as long as I want.
We're going to be looking for you the rest of the day working that left side.
Yeah, you can.
All right, our quarterfinal round action continues. This is Dave Wysorek in Nightlife 2 out of Nebraska. Dave drives a Chevrolet. He's a former stock car and motorcycle racer. Been in monster truck racing now about 3 years. And he's going to take on the newest kid on the circuit. Only his second race, Army. Jeff Zimmerman, Madman the Dodge, out of Pennsylvania.
Zimmerman, the new kid, trying to knock this Chevrolet off. We told you earlier the Chevrolet's making a name for himself. That's why right there.
Dave Wysorek skying at the end, gets the win. He'll move into the semifinals, but look who he's going to face. It is going to be Bigfoot and Andy Brass, but he's going to be happy just getting there. He's looking for a win in the finals. Here's Army.
All right, you took a win, but it looks like you're going to have to go out of the right lane. Bigfoot says he will not give that left lane up, and it looks like you're going to draw him next round.
Yeah, it does. I don't know. That right lane's pretty rough, so I'm just going to do the best I can, I guess.
We'll let you get back to the action. Good luck to you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so Nightlife to Chevrolet will be facing Bigfoot as we get a replay. Watch how he almost takes it on his nose here, Army.
He nosed in real hard. That's what's causing the breakage, Richard, in qualifying. These front ends are just taking a beating today.
All right, well, get ready. We're going to determine our other semi-finalists in a moment. It'll either be Steve Dane and Awesome Kong or the Master of Disaster and Doug Spanier. But right now, it's time for the Renegades TNT Question of the Week. And our question of the week about the Renegades TNT Monster Truck Challenge Series comes to us from Eddie Johnson of Cumberland, Kentucky. And Eddie wants to know about how many miles a typical monster truck team travels in 1 year. I have with me Dave Wysorek. Dave is the driver of Nightlife 2 out of Grand Islands, Nebraska. And Dave, in 1988, how many events did you compete in?
We did 42 events last year, ranging anywhere from the East Coast to the West Coast.
And about how many miles did you travel per week to get to an event?
A good average would be about 1,000 miles per week.
So as you can see, that's over 42,000 miles in 1 year. Lots of miles to just go a few feet down a racetrack. And if you have a question of the week about the Renegades TNT Monster Truck Challenge Series, you can send it to TNT Motorsports, 5515 Poplar Park Boulevard, Louisville, Kentucky, 40228. And if we use one of your questions on a future ESPN broadcast, we'll send you absolutely free a TNT Motorsports hat. Well, Army, did you like the sweater I had on there? I thought I might be sitting by a fireplace tonight. Instead, here we are, trying to determine our semifinalists on this Renegade circuit. Will it be the Fly-In Texan, Steve Dane and Awesome Kong, or the beautiful Chevrolet Master of Disaster and Doug Spanier?
Spanier says he can put the Texas Chevrolet away. Texas says no way. They leave side by side. Look at the Texas truck. Now, Dane's a little bit out of shape, not going as high, but he will advance, and that's what it's all about. He puts a win under that belt.
Not out of shape enough to miss out on the victory. Steve Dane gets it. Remember, Awesome Kong, this is the same vehicle that in October and November of last year, he won 4 events in a row. That has never been done on the Renegades TNT circuit before. Steve Dane did it. He is going for his first win of '89. He may get it as he moves on to the semifinals. We move on trackside. Army's got the winner right now.
Steve, I tell you, you had to come out of a lane that nobody wants anything to do with. That's the right lane. The truck looked like it responded awfully well. Do you have any preference now, left or right lane?
It's no secret. It seems that everybody with a little sense of the track is picking that left lane. I opted to go slower in my qualifying round. This is a 3-event show we're having this weekend. Equipment is being really beat heavily. So I just went easy in qualifying. It didn't help me out in the lane choice, but I think I got the power where I might be able to pull it off, hopefully today. I didn't win last night. I want to give her a good shot today.
Well, everybody's going to have lane choice over you, so now you're going to have to bring the power back. You've got to lean on equipment if they're going to be putting you in that bad lane.
Yeah, power's not the question. I haven't even tapped the resources that Awesome Kong has, so it's all in keeping it in a straight line. I got plenty of speed, and if I can get it going, it's just trying to keep it on the track. There's been disqualifications today. It's a rough track, and I'm just going to try to keep it in a straight line and come out with a good time.
Well, I'll tell you, it sounds like to me Steve Dane wants Bigfoot in the finals. We'll find out if the two of them face when we come back with more Power Tracks. And welcome back to Power Tracks, where we are about to move into the semifinals of this Renegades TNT Motorsports event, and it's going to feature Bigfoot and Dave Wysork Nightlife. But Army, another attraction to this sport besides the side-by-side racing is the fan following.
These trucks actually have personalities, Richard. You talk to people, they'll talk about Bigfoot like it's a person or the master of disaster. And some of the artwork is just tremendous that helps attract these spectators to follow this motorsport.
Well, to give you an idea of how beautiful the vehicles look, enjoy this. A lot of work goes into the artwork on the side of these beautiful trucks, but we are ready to race, and it doesn't matter how good you look now, it's how much power and how good a driver you are, as Bigfoot and Andy Brass comes out to take on Dave Wysork and Nightlife. And remember, Army, I told you, Dave Wysork said the highlight of his career thus far was the time he beat Bigfoot 3 races in a row. That was in August of 1988.
Well, Richard, August 1988 is a long way in time and distance from here where that event took place. Tonight is all that counts. Side by side, the past doesn't mean anything. Wysork going against the Bigfoot truck would love to put a win under his belt, but he's got to earn it. Believe me, Brass will not give it to him. He wants the Ford back in the winner's circle. Chevrolet on the right lane, Ford in the left lane. Richard, it looks like it's going to be a good one.
And by all rights, Andy Brass ought to have the advantage. He was the top qualifier, has lane choice, and we know there is a good and a bad lane on this track.
Well, we know that, but the right lane is working awfully good for Awesome Kong. Remember that. Nobody else wants the right lane. Everybody wants the left lane. Awesome Kong may sneak into this thing through that right lane. Let's see what's going to happen. The race at hand. Bigfoot, left lane works to perfection. He's going to advance once again, Rick.
No problem at all for Andy Brass, the winner, and Bigfoot takes the Ford into the finals. That is George Smith, the crew chief of the Bigfoot racing operation. He is happy. He's in communication with the driver, Andy Brass, right now, as there's a little bit of fire underneath there, Army.
Richard, a lot of times these engines will puke out a little bit of oil that runs down on the exhaust header, gives you a little bit of a flash fire. No problem, really. The safety crew is there.
All right, doesn't look like a major problem as it flares up one more time. Army, he's making his way over to Andy right now.
Now George Smith comes over. They're going to the final for the second time in a row. We've had 2 events this year. Andy, the new driver, he's put this truck in the final the second time. They're having a little bit of a fire problem, but you don't seem to be worried about the fire at all. You're kind of sitting up in there relaxing, letting George do the work.
Yeah, it's really not a whole lot to be worried about. It's just our oil overflow has been dropping, dripping oil down on the header, and it's just flaring up on us. It's been something that's been going, we've been having almost all day today.
You won the first one of the year, Andy. Can you make it 2 in a row?
I'm hoping so.
What lane are we going to come out of?
We're going to stay right where we're at.
And who's he going to face in the finals? Will it be Steve Dane and Awesome Kong out of Texas, or look who he is facing again, Army. Master of Disaster, Doug Spanier, comes back because he was the fastest loser in previous rounds. Here we go again, Chevrolet.
I'm looking for a war. No love lost here. Texas working a right lane. Let's see if he can hold off. If he's going to do it, he's going to do it right at the end. Richard, he does. Texas.
Probably our best race of the night, but Steve Dane holds off Doug Spanier, and Awesome Kong takes on Bigfoot in the finals. You can see on the replay what a tight one this was.
Richard, he's right back to where he was earlier. He's actually flying over the cars. The crush cars don't bother him because he flies over them.
And he is a happy son of a gun. Steve Dane jumping off Kong saying, I'm going to get Bigfoot. Willie, we'll find out the championship up next on Power Tracks. It is showtime in St. Paul. We are about to name the king of Crunch Car Racing, Army. It's either going to be Awesome Kong and Steve Dane, the Chevrolet from Texas, or Andy Brass and Bigfoot, the Ford out of St. Louis. We're in the finals.
Brass is in the lane he wants to be in. Steve Dane, I believe, is too. When he went to the starting line, he was pumped up. You could see him working the crowd. Now, Dane has been saying all evening long he's having trouble on the starting line. If he's going to take a win, Richard, he's going to have to catch him at the finish line. He will not be able to leave with the Ford. He's going to give the start of the race to the Ford, but like we've been talking all night long, that Texas Air Force is going to be coming after you right at the finish line.
And don't forget, Steve Dane has a habit of letting other drivers think he's having problems when he's not having any problem at all. He uses psychology in this Ford, Army.
The transmission does seem to be going away a little bit. We'll be able to tell. I got a feeling this is a Texas-style shootout. They're going to lay all cards on the table. Ford's out. Now, Dane's got to come after. Look at that.
What a race! Steve Dane and Awesome Kong way behind at the beginning of the race. He came on strong at the end. It looked like a dead heat to me at the finish line. TNT official is checking the replay now. We just get word it is Steve Dane. Awesome Kong has knocked off Bigfoot here in St. Paul. Steve, the winner in Kong.
The crowd just received words of the win. But is lane choice that important in this sport as it is in any other form of motorsports? First you, Andy.
Yeah, I think lane choice is. On a course like we're running here, the straight courses, I'm not real sure that lane choice is a big advantage, but in our turning courses and everything, it does make a big advantage. Now, Steve's running a truck where he sits mid-seat in it where he can see out of both sides pretty easy, and I don't think it's as critical for him as it is some of the other drivers.
How do you feel about lane choice?
He's exactly right. He's a little sharper than I thought he was. That's sitting in the middle here. I don't have a lane choice per se as to where I can see because I have really good visible, I can see everything that's going on. But it ended up being that left lane happened to be, I think the incline on the ramps weren't quite as bad or something where I was getting shot around. And my transmission, I'm sure I burned one up because I wasn't getting nothing out of the hole at last pass. And this last one, I didn't have nothing, and I decided to let her smoke. And I put it in the meadow, and it came alive. But I'm sure I got a smoke tranny I got to change.
Well, I want to congratulate both you young men. We'll be looking forward to following you on the Renegade Tour. Best of luck to both of you.
Thanks, Arm.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Army. So a couple of major stories in St. Paul, Minnesota. Number one, the hometown boy and defending national champion Rod Litzow in USA 1. He is yet to win a race since capturing the national championship back in October of last year. But maybe more importantly is Steve Dane and Awesome Kong. He has proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that he is for real. For Army Armstrong, I'm Richard Leek. We'll catch you again on the tracks across America.
Join us next time for Power Tracks, the most powerful sport on earth. Brought to you by TNT Motorsports, the nation's leader in pulling and monster truck racing.